Should the Hornets trade Lamelo Ball? Because this is not something that has come up. I have not seen any kind of reports. So I'm not trying to, or I'm not speculating that the Hornets are interested in trading Lamelo. That's not what I'm saying. Like I said, there has not been any reports of this, at least none that I've seen. But a team that has obviously been in a position where fans just want them to be in a winning situation, that team, one of those teams, is the Charlotte Hornets. And when Lamelo Ball was drafted, he was deemed to be the next, I don't even know what his comparison was, but like you can see when Lamelo plays, like he is really good. Like he almost could have been an all-star this year, like based on his, statistics and stuff like that. So Lamelo Ball himself is a very talented player. There is no questioning that. He puts up the stats. And I understand that some people may say, oh, well, some of it is empty stats. But regardless, like at the end of the day, you don't just average, 25 and 10 or whatever. I don't know what his numbers were. But you don't just, put up those kind of numbers without being talented. Regardless of the team, winning situation, we'll put that aside for a minute. So just talent alone, we know Lamelo Ball, very talented. But the Charlotte Hornets obviously have not been winning a lot of games since pretty much Kemba Walker left. And even when Kemba was there, they were still like not a top team. They were like the 8th seed or something like that when Kemba was there. Maybe there was a couple of years they were like the 6th seed. I can't remember their seeding. They definitely made the playoffs with Kemba for sure. But they were never like, from my memory, they were never looked at as like the top contender, and they obviously never, made it to the NBA Finals in Kemba Walker's tenure. And I'm not discrediting anything Kemba did. I'm just, saying what actually happened. So I say all that to say, since then, since Kemba has left, I don't think they've made the playoffs. I think they made the play-in a couple of years ago with Lamelo. Correct me if I'm wrong. They were like the 10th seed or something like that. But they obviously didn't make it out. So other than that, they have not made the playoffs in quite some time, right? So obviously, the question at some point is like, they keep getting these really high draft picks and these really, talented young players. But when is it going to translate to wins? And part of the problem, which is not LaMelo's fault, and it's not the organization's fault, is that LaMelo has had quite a few injuries in his, short career so far. So part of the reason that they haven't won as many games as maybe we expect them to, or that they could have been projected to, is because LaMelo has missed a lot of time each season. And again, that doesn't mean they were going to be championship contenders. Of course, I'm not saying that. But like when your best player, your clear best player, is missing like 40, 50 games, multiple seasons in a row, it's hard to win a lot, right? So that's why I feel like the winning aspect is kind of hard to judge when LaMelo hasn't played a full season in a while, right? So with that aside, I don't think it's time to trade LaMelo. I don't think they should look to move him, and I don't think they are looking to move him. But I'm sure there are some people out there who are just wondering if they should literally rebuild again, even though they are rebuilding. Like literally just rebuild from a 24-year-old Lamelo Ball. But the problem is like for example, they moved PJ Washington, who I understand PJ Washington is not like a superstar in the league, but like he was very good, when he was on the Hornets, very good. And obviously we see how good he's been on the Mavericks. And PJ was like, I don't know, like 24 when he was traded and stuff like that too. I don't fault them for trading him, but what I'm saying is like, just trading young players is not necessarily to get like younger players, right? It's not necessarily the solution either, because like the younger you get doesn't mean the more you're going to win. Like OKC was like a unique situation to be so young, overall, and to be such a winning team. That's not usually how it happens, but to be fair, and if we think about it, Shea, their best player, their leader, their MVP, is like 26, 27. Like, he is a seasoned veteran, I guess if you want to call him. Like, he's been in the league for a while. He's seen a bunch of things. He knows how the NBA works. So, that's a little bit different. And they got a veteran, Alex Caruso, who was already an NBA champion, Isaiah Hartenstein. So, like, they had a good mix. But obviously, Chet and J-Dub were very, very young. But like I said, usually the young, really young teams don't end up being, a super winning team for many reasons. So I do think that if Lamelo Ball was healthy for a full season, they could definitely win more games. I don't think that's really a question. The question is more so like, is he their point guard of the future? Is he going to, hopefully lead them to a championship is, what they want. Again, I don't think they should trade Lamelo Ball. I do not think they should trade Lamelo Ball. I don't think it should be even on the table. Again, I have not heard that it's on the table, but I was just thinking about the Hornets today, and I was like, what can they do to just like start winning more games? And again, LaMelo's health is a big part of that, but like besides that, like what can they do? Like, again, just continuously drafting these young guys is not necessarily the solution. Like, it's hard to find like a generational talent in the draft. Like, there's plenty of good players, but like everybody has to fit together and everything has to work. So I think LaMelo does a good job of fitting with other players because he is, very willing to pass and stuff like that. And so I think the Hornets should still try to build around him. I absolutely think that. I think they need to bring in more veterans. They gotta. Like, I know Grant Williams was on the team last year, and I believe Seth Curry was on the team, but like they need, like, I don't know, they need more veterans like OKC. Like, they need, I mean, of course everyone wants Alex Caruso, but they need like Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein and, maybe a young guy who is, I think Lou Dort's like 24, 25. But like someone like Lou Dort, who is still, young, but like also very poised and seasoned in his own way. Like, they need more players like that. And I know those are hard to come by, and I know it's not necessarily available out there. But I feel like, again, just cultivating a group of just all these young guys is not bad. Of course, you want all the talent, but we see the teams that win have veteran leaders and, locker room presence and stuff like that. And I not only do I feel like that's helpful for the young guys just to learn the ropes of the NBA, but I also feel like when you have someone who's been around for a while, like a few guys, like I feel like they need more than one. When you have a few guys who have been around for a while, they could help someone like LaMelo maybe. Again, injuries are hard to prevent, but maybe they could teach him a new way to do some kind of exercises to prevent injuries, depending on who it is. Maybe they, the guys who have been in the league a long time have seen a lot of ways to exercise differently. Again, LaMelo obviously has access to the best trainers as well, but like sometimes talking to someone who has been there, done that, and literally has experienced and gone through those things themselves might help him. Again, I don't know if that's necessarily possible to help him, stop getting injured, but that's one thing. Another thing is like just teaching all the young guys the game, the vision, how to, play off one another better and stuff like that. So I think they should still build around LaMelo. I just feel like they need to bring in more guys who can just help the young guys grow and develop. Because there's plenty of talent on the roster, but you need someone to lead them. And to put that all on LaMelo is like kind of unfair because he's trying to figure it out himself still. Like, he's still a young guy in the league. And because he hasn't had all the reps of someone like an Anthony Edwards who was in his draft class, and Anthony Edwards has been, fairly healthy, not only is LaMelo still young, but he also hasn't had all the reps. So they just really need veteran leadership. That's what they need. Somebody said, imagine LaMelo in Minnesota. Yeah, I mean, that would be a really good fit for him too, honestly, because obviously, Anthony Edwards if we're saying like, are we swapping Anthony Edwards for him, or are we putting LaMelo on there with Anthony Edwards? Because if you put him on there with Anthony Edwards, wow, because he's going to get a lot of good shots from LaMelo, because LaMelo is going to find him. Like, he, knows how to pass. If we're saying we're taking Anthony Edwards off the team and putting LaMelo on, that's still a good fit for LaMelo, because I think they would need a little bit more shooting, because obviously if you take Anthony Edwards off, you're taking not only a big portion of scoring, but also he has really developed his three-point shot. And we know Naz Reid, when he gets going from the three-point line, he doesn't miss, right? But they're not like, I'm pretty sure they were really good at three-pointers last year in terms of percentage, but I don't think they're a super high-volume three-point shooting team. And if you're playing with someone like LaMelo, who likes to fast-pace, kind of like Tyrese Halliburton, you want shooter so he can just, throw it out to them on the fast break for a three. Even though if you watch this page, I feel like if there is a fast break and there's nobody there and you're wide open, I don't understand not taking the layup, because the layup is a guaranteed like 95% chance you're going to make the shot. A lot of players' instincts nowadays is just to go to the three-point line. And I get it, but like, if nobody is there, a layup is free. Like, 3 is greater than 2, but 2 is greater than 0. You're guaranteed to make the layup. Take the 2 free points, right? That's how I feel about that. Unless you're like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, those players, I have no problem with it. Like, again, Steph Curry, greatest shooter ever. So he has earned the right to pull up from the three-point line whenever he pleases, whenever he feels like it. If it's on a fast break, no problem with that. But like, some of these guys are just instinctively pulling up for a 3 on a fast break. Even if they are a good three-point shooter, it's just like, it doesn't make sense. There's a time and place, and I'm not saying never pull up for a 3 on fast break. It just feels like it happens too often when there's a wide open layup, but I digress on that. That's how I feel about that. So I say a lot to say. What was I saying? I forgot. We were talking about LaMelo. I just don't remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, he needs shooters. If he was on Minnesota, he needs more shooters. And also, I don't want to say build the team like the Pacers, but like, in a way, how good would LaMelo be playing with someone like an Obi Toppin, who's athletic, who's going to, run the floor as soon as, LaMelo gets the ball, and then Obi Toppin will be wide open for a dunk. Pascal Siakam, like those guys fit kind of LaMelo's style of play as well. Even though LaMelo is more score first in a way than Tyrese Halliburton is, of course, he still is kind of does some of those things like Tyrese Halliburton, like I said. So if I am the Hornets, I'm bringing in veterans. I'm figuring out a way to get players like Pascal Siakam, like Obi Toppin for fast break, get some more three-point shooting. Veterans. That would be, my order of business, I guess, if you want to say. That would be my focus if I was the Hornets. Because if I was the Hornets, I'm not giving up on LaMelo. I'm not giving up on him yet. Like, he's too talented, too young, too much potential to give up just yet when they don't even have a replacement for him. Like, it's not like there's anybody potentially better out there who is available currently for them. So don't give up on LaMelo. I think they need more veterans on the team. That's my opinion on that. So thank you guys so much for watching this.